Men's hoops falls in the first round of the big dance. Women's basketball is gearing up for a tourney run, and March Madness is starting to heat up. All this and more on College Press Box. Welcome to College Press Box. I'm your host, Oscar Labovich. Coming to the tourney, hot off their first Big 12 championship win, the Longhorns fell to ACU in a nail-biter in the first round of the NCAA tourney. Here are some highlights. First, Abel Christian scores running down the court. Texas here with a deep three early on, takes a quick lead. Getting another Abel Christian here, deep three, ties the game. Coming up the court, scores an easy two. It's a nail biter. Texas here, wide open. It's tied 26 late in the first. Texas here, going up by 5. Early on in the second, Texas here goes up by 7. Abel Christian fires back, goes up by 3. Here Texas fires back, makes a quick floater, down by 1. Here tied late in the second, Abel Christian comes up for a layup and 1. Down by 2, Texas looking for the three-pointer late in the second, and he hits it. 13 seconds left. Texas is up by 1. They go up for the layup. Abel Christian, the foul is called. Abel Christian has 2 free throws. He sinks the first one, makes the second. Texas is down by 1 with 1 second left, unable to hit the half-court shot. Texas falls to ACU 53-52 in the first. With me to break it down is Ross Fisher. Ross, how are you?
I'm doing as well as I can given last Saturday night's result.
Yeah, it was tough. To start it off, what went wrong?
Well, the glaring issue with Texas's performance was simply just turnovers. Texas had a season high of 23 turnovers, and they had 20 turnovers against Texas Tech as well, which I thought the Longhorns were lucky to win that game in the first place. For context, UCLA, who routed Abilene Christian today, only had 8 turnovers. This was an issue all season. Texas averaged 14.2 turnovers a game. Texas was 221st in the country for turnover to assist ratio with a ratio of 0.91. And really, for me, that stems from a lack of a concrete offensive game plan. The Longhorns really relied too heavily on the 3 ball. Against Abilene Christian, they were just swinging the ball around the perimeter, praying to find an open shooter. And they did shoot a decent percentage from the field. However, they were outshot by 21, which is simply just not good enough. When they struggled to penetrate, and when they did penetrate and get good looks, they struggled to finish off those looks, and they really struggled to get Jericho Sims the ball. He looked really good towards the back end of the season. However, he only had 3 shot attempts against Abilene Christian, which once again, simply not good enough. And then another very disappointing aspect of the game against Abilene Christian was that Greg Brown, one of the most exciting players heading into the season, only played 6 minutes. So he was a big miss as well.
Yeah, it was a disappointing game all around. Texas just had an off day. With the coaching, do you think that Shaka should be fired?
Well, first of all, no matter what happens, I believe that the Texas Athletic Department should heavily scrutinize Smart's position no matter what. In my personal opinion, I believe he won't be fired, but I believe that he should be fired, and here's why. Simply put, no tournament wins in 6 years speaks for itself. Texas lost against Northern Iowa, Nevada, and now Abilene Christian. And Shaka Smart is getting paid $3.2 million a year which is an elite college salary, and he's simply not delivering elite results when it matters most, not even close. A big point, in favor of keeping Shaka recently was his relationship with Matt Coleman. And now that Matt Coleman is leaving, it's really a transitional period for the Longhorns. And I think that as they usher in a new era, it's time to usher in a new coach as they usher in that new era. And then, Smart never really fully utilized his bigs on offense. He had some of the best bigs in the history of this school in Jarrett Allen, Mo Bamba, Jackson Hayes, and most recently Jericho Sims, who, even though he wasn't a first round draft pick and won't go to the NBA like those guys, still a very serviceable center. And Shaka never really formulated a strong enough offensive game plan to get those guys the ball, which was pretty frustrating.
Yeah, 100%. Going back to what you said about how this is a transitional period, what do you think is the full future of Texas basketball?
Well, it's really hard to say. The future of Texas is extremely uncertain at the moment. First of all, Kai Jones and Greg Brown are most likely leaving to head to the NBA draft. Texas is bringing in 4 recruits this year, which is more than normal. That does include 3 4-star recruits in David Joplin, a 6'7" power forward, Amarian Ellis, and Tamar Bates, who are both combo guards, who will look to fill the shoes of senior Matt Coleman. And then in addition to those, the recent recruits under Smart have not panned out well simply. Will Baker already transferred to Nevada, and he was a guy who came in with a reasonable amount of expectation. Donovan Williams, despite being injured, hasn't looked great since returning from injury, which is a discouraging sign. And then, of course, Greg Brown not living up to expectations and being one of the most promising recruits that Texas has had in a while. And then perhaps the most uncertain position on the floor for Texas is going to be that center position, with Jericho Sims leaving, as well as Texas's second best rebounder in Greg Brown most likely leaving, and no recognizable center being recruited, really begs the question, who will fill in that role that Texas has typically had a wealth of options in, as I mentioned, with those NBA players and Dylan Osikowski and Jericho Sims. And there really is a sense that Texas missed out on their best chance of having any sort of postseason success with the failure to win in this year's NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it's definitely a sad sight to see. Thank you, Ross, for breaking it down. Coming up next, women's basketball is looking to make a run in their upcoming tournament. Welcome back. Women's basketball is making their 33rd appearance in the NCAA tournament this March. This is the 4th most all-time and the Longhorns' 7th straight appearance. With me to break it down is Matt Marinchak. Matt, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Looking at the tourney coming up, what does Texas need to do to win tonight?
So they got to do a few things. Just for starters, they got to stop this red hot Bradley team. Even though Bradley has a record of 17-11, they're on a hot streak after winning the last 5 games, and they won the Missouri Valley Conference Championship. When they get hot, they get hot. So they shoot 42% from the field and 35% from 3. But I think their biggest strength is their ability to distribute the ball. They use a small ball lineup with 4 guards, and they average 14 assists per game. But Texas can use their size advantage to lock down these guards. They'll be able to slow down that offense. Number 2, they're going to have to limit turnovers. Texas doesn't turn over the ball a whole lot, only 14 times per game, but Bradley's a team that plays scrappy. They force a lot of turnovers. They can quickly score off of them. So if Texas can limit their turnovers to around 10 to 12, they'll be in a good spot. And then lastly, I think most importantly, Texas needs a feed on Charlie Collier. She's the star of this team. She leads them in points and rebounds, and with her size and ability, she can exploit the mismatches against a small ball team. But the most important thing that she has to worry about is staying out of foul trouble. She's fouled out a few times this season, and that's cost Texas games. And when she struggles, Texas struggles. And if Texas wants to win, she needs to prove why she's projected to be the number 1 overall pick.
Absolutely. This is 100% a game of momentum. And with Bradley running in this game hot, it's definitely going to be a fun one. So, Matt, looking deeper into it, who are some players to watch out for?
So there's some players on both teams to watch out for. For Texas, I mentioned her earlier, Charlie Collier. She's a lifeblood for this Texas team, averaging 20 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, and leads the team in block shots. She also was named the first team All-Big 12 and the second team All-American. She'll have a big game tonight for Texas. And then Joanna Allen-Taylor is another key player for Texas. She's averaging 12.2 points per game, and she's a great playmaker for Texas. Expect her to be a big factor. Then looking over at Bradley, they rely on their tandem of Gabby Hawk and Laisha Petrie. Hawk is the NBC's active leading scorer, number 2 all-time scorer for Bradley, and she's a 3-time first-team NBC guard. She's averaging 16.8 points per game this season. Laisha Petrie leads Bradley in scoring this season. She's their best defensive player, averaging 17.5 points per game. She has 40 steals, 58 blocks. They're both key assets for Bradley. Expect them both to be key contributors tonight.
Absolutely. With Collier, she is 100% the lifeblood of this team, as well as she does. Texas will do. Looking further into the tournament, what are your expectations for Texas?
Well, for Texas, I do think they beat Bradley tonight, but looking forward, I think they either make it to the second or third round game, depending on what happens tonight in the UCLA versus Wyoming game. If UCLA wins tonight, I don't think Texas will be able to beat that team. Texas has struggled in the past against ranked teams. They don't have a good matchup with them size-wise. But Wyoming wins somehow, I think that Texas will have a better matchup with them, and they'll win that game. But going into the third round, they'll probably play against number 2 seed Maryland. Maryland's a tough team, and I don't see Texas beating Maryland if they make it to the third round.
All right, thank you, Matt. I'm really hoping Texas makes it tonight. Next up, we dive into March Madness and some of the key moments that have defined this year's tourney. Welcome back. March Madness is just heating up as the first round has come to a close. With me is Adam Ogburn to break it all down.
Yeah, thanks, Oscar. March Madness has already lived up to its nickname here in these opening days with a number of upsets. Let's jump into some highlights from these first 3 days of craziness. We're going to start out in the Wild West, where Creighton looked to avoid upset against UCSB in the first round. 12 seed Gauchos taking on the 5 seed Blue Jays, and Creighton getting off to a perfect start as Denzel Mahoney nails a 3-pointer to give them the early advance. But Ja'Cory McLaughlin, the star player for UCSB, he answers back with a 3 to give the Gauchos their first lead. It was a tight game throughout, but a big block there by Miles Norris in the second half. He goes down to the other end and nails a 3 to cut the lead to within 1. Later on, now the Gauchos up by 3. It's McLaughlin again. He nails another 3 to give them a 6-point lead. He would finish the night with 13 points. But here comes Creighton. The dish inside, and Christian Bishop with a reverse dunk to give the Blue Jays back the lead. Closing seconds, Creighton looking to go back in front. Don't get it, but Bishop with the rebound. And then Amadou Sal's going to reach in right there and commit a foul. Creighton in the bonus, so it's a 1-1. Bishop keeps his calm and nails the first one. Tied ball game. And then again, this one for the lead, and he is gold. 63-62 Creighton. Last chance. Amadou Sal inside, but it won't fall. And the Gauchos come so close to pulling the upset. Creighton now, they would take on the winner of this game in the second round. Ohio taking on Virginia. Ben Roderick opening the game with a 3-pointer. It was a tight one in the first half. Casey Morsell putting Virginia up by 5. And then on the other end, Morsell with a block. And then Kihei Clark on the break to put the Cavaliers up by 7. And you fear for Ohio a little bit at this point. Would it get out of hand? Ben Vanderplas didn't think so. He nails the 3 to put the Bobcats up by 2. And then Vanderplas again, almost from the identical spot. Yet again, golden. Bobcats by 5, but here come the Cavaliers. Dish outside. Trent Murphy nails a 3 and it's back within 2. But Ohio wasn't having it. Jason Preston finding it, keeping it alive, and eventually works his way to Ben Roderick. A perfect pump fake. He nails the 3, and a huge upset for the Bobcats as the Cavaliers come up short. They throw up this last consolation effort, a 4-point victory. What a night for Jason Preston, Ohio's star player. He lost his mom to cancer. He was a bench warmer in high school, but now he's on the grand stage leading the Bobcats to a first-round victory. The East had also been chalk. Abilene Christian with a big win. UCLA and Maryland also picked up victories as the 11 and 10 seeds respectively. The Colorado, they weren't having any talk of an upset against Georgetown. Jabari Walker, he went 5 of 5 from 3 as the Buffaloes won 96-73. But now in the South, there was some more chaos here. North Texas taking on Purdue. And how about Gabby and Hamlet with back-to-back 3-pointers to put the Mean Green up by 9. And then Mardrez McBride here. He was a big spark play. He had 4 3-pointers on the night for the Mean Green. They lead by 8. But here comes Purdue. Jaden Ivey, he had 26 on the night. He nails a 3. And then Dravion Williams with a steal. And you better get out of his ways. He slams it down. It's a 2-point ball game. Purdue. Again, Williams going to work on inside. Misses at first, but he gets the tip in. Tie ball game. And you know they love this, the Buffalo Wild Wings, some free basketball. The Mean Green, though, they came to play. They were not going down in overtime. Thomas Bell nails a 3. And then Javian Hamlet with a nice little hook. He finished with 24 as the Mean Green go on to win 78-69 for a stunning victory over the Boilermakers. How about this? Oral Roberts taking on Ohio State. Max Asmith from Rockwall, Texas. Well, he might as well have shot that one from Rockwall deep downtown for the 3. And then Asmith again nailing 3s. He's the leading scorer in NCAA basketball from the season. And there he is again, wide open from the corner. Oral Roberts led this one 36-33 at the half. The Buckeyes come back. Dwayne Washington Jr. gets the jumper to put them in front. And then Kevin Obenor from the top of the key puts the Golden Eagles back in front. Late on, after a foul by Musiala on Ohio State on Opener, he goes to the line. He makes the first, and then he gets the second to tie it up 64-all. Last chance for Ohio State. Dwayne Washington, and it comes up short. Free basketball yet again. A. Smith, the jumper. Yes, sir. He had 29 on the night. Golden Eagles by 6, but here come the Buckeyes. E.J. Liddell. Yes, sir. He nails the 3 and back within 1. Last chance. Justin Aarons, not even close to them. He gets the rebound out to Dwayne Washington Jr., but it won't go. And Oral Roberts becomes just the 9th 15 seed in college basketball history to win a game in March Madness. Now going for 2. Could they knock off Florida as well? Kevin Obenor thinks so. He nails the 3 and the foul to get the Golden Eagles back within 7. Obenor again from 3. He is money. Golden Eagles back within 3. And then Obenor going to work, this time on the inside. He finished with 28 on the night. Golden Eagles up by 1. And then outside, Deshane Weaver nails a huge 3 to put Oral Roberts in front. Last chance from Florida. Trey Mann, no. It's eventually going to work its way back out. Scotty Lewis from the corner, no. And Oral Roberts does it again. They join Florida Gulf Coast as the only 15 seeds to make it into the Sweet 16. They'll face Arkansas on Saturday. Lastly, in the Midwest region, Loyola Chicago taking on Illinois, and Sister Jean and her Ramblers were on it again. Braden Norris nailing a 3. Then Keith Clemens here from 3. They led by 14 at this point. But the story of the game, as Lucas Williamson nails a shot, was Cameron Krutwig inside, going to work on Kofi Cockburn. He finished with 19 points and 12 rebounds as the Ramblers do it again. A 71-58 victory. They knock off Illinois, who was up there with Gonzaga and Baylor as the favorites to win the whole tournament. You see the stat there, 5th win in the last 3 NCAA tournament against higher seeded teams. You have to say, you got to watch out for these Ramblers, but it's sure to be a wild few weeks now with the amount of upsets that's already taken place in this tournament. There have been 11 victories already by double-digit seeds, and 4 have booked their place in the Sweet 16. Oral Roberts, UCLA. How about Oregon State? They've run through Tennessee and Oklahoma State. And then Syracuse, who knocked off West Virginia in an impressive victory yesterday. You have to say Gonzaga and Baylor are still the favorites, considering they were really the top 2 all year long, and they've survived their first two matchups. But you got to keep an eye on maybe a team out of the Midwest. You look at Loyola Chicago, Oregon State, Syracuse has been playing well, and then Houston, a very good team out of the American Athletic Conference. That looks to be the most unpredictable region remaining, with a 2 seed and then an 8, 11, and 12. But as we've learned so far, it's March and anything can happen.
Thanks for that, Adam. Coming up next, we have the rest of Longhorn sports from this past week. Welcome back. Earlier today, Texas coach Steve Sarkison met with the media to talk about the upcoming spring practices.
Every time we take the field, individually as well as collectively, so that we put ourselves in good position for the summer and for fall camp, and then ultimately for the season. So we've got plenty of work to do. I'm excited to get on the field with these guys, especially with the ball. Watch the ball fly around a little bit, see the angles that defenders are taking to make tackles, see how we learn, see how we process, see how we react to new things. So there's a lot that goes into it. Tomorrow's the first step, and looking forward to getting on the field in the morning.
Texas baseball continues to stay hot, winning their away series against Baylor 2-1. Pitching stars Ty Madden dominated Game 1, striking out 9 and only allowing 2 runs through 6. In Game 2, the bats came to play as the Longhorns went up by 2 early and never looked back. At home this week, softball swept New Mexico in 2 games, winning the series by an impressive combined score of 20-1. Junior Ariana Adams threw her first career solo no-hitter, becoming only the 11th Longhorn in softball history to do so. Over the weekend, Texas women's swimming and diving competed in the national championship. They scored 344.5 points, but came in 3rd place, falling short, losing to Virginia and North Carolina State. In tennis, men's number 7 ranked men's tennis defeated number 15 Arizona 4-3. The Longhorns won the point from their doubles victories, and freshman Micah Braswell, sophomore Evan McDonald, and junior Nevin Arimili. They all earned victories in singles matches to secure the victory for Texas. In women's tennis, number 2 ranked women's tennis recorded their 9th sweep this season in 14 matches against number 31 OU. On Monday, women's basketball is against Bradley at 7 p.m. It's on ESPN2. Tuesday, the 23rd, women's basketball is in the 2nd round, and baseball is playing UIW 6:30 p.m. On Wednesday, the 24th, women's basketball is playing the 2nd round, depending on their seeding. And Friday, the 26th, volleyball at Baylor, 6 p.m. That'll be a fun one. On this Friday, the 26th, soccer is playing A&M at Corpus Christi at 7 p.m. Baseball at OU, also 7 p.m. On Saturday, the 27th, women's basketball, Sweet 16. That's to be determined. And women's tennis at versus Rice at 12 p.m. Sunday, the 28th, women's basketball, Sweet 16, again, depending on the seeding. And softball is playing UT Arlington at 12:30 p.m. That's all we have for you tonight on College Press Box. Make sure to join us on Wednesday night at 9 o'clock for College Crossfire for the best sports debate on the 40 acres with host Jaxie Pigeon, and on Friday mornings at 10 for the 1-0 Sports Show. For everyone in the virtual studio, I'm Oscar Labovich, and have a great rest of your evening.